reminder, guys, these are being recorded and live streamed on YouTube as a matter of public record. So anything you say could be used against you.
Joan, are you going to be with us for the CJO concert?
In September?
August 15th.
No, I won't be there for that.
Okay.
Okay. We're good, David, whenever you
Okay.
are.
All right. Well, I'm going to call the meeting to order. And the first order of business is to welcome Kristen. And I wish I could introduce you in person. But Kristen, this is Becky, Joan, Jody, Van, Bill, and Judy, and Stephanie.
Hi. Thank you.
Hey, Kristen, welcome.
Hi, Becky. Hi, Joan.
Welcome.
Everyone. Thank you.
And hopefully our September meeting will be live, well, depending on the Delta variant and what's going on with that. But we hope to welcome you in person. But thank you for coming, and we appreciate your willingness to serve on the Arts Council.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
The first item is to approve the minutes of our last meeting, which Stephanie sent out. I'll hear a motion to approve those minutes. Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, any changes or edits? All those in favor of approving, please say aye.
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 Motion passes. And under old business, we're going to review the season, or at least the first few events. Judy's going to sort of report on the CJO, and she was asking who needs comp tickets. Kristen, were you planning attending?
I'm sorry, I'll be out of state on August 15th.
Okay.
I have a question about it. Maybe this is going to come up later, but I'm wondering, are we doing anything about masking or social distancing at this concert?
We've got the tables far apart as far as we can get them apart. We are at capacity as far as the resort's use for the venue is, but there is no mask mandate. I would like to say I would like to say nobody can come without a mask, but we're getting a little late and a little close to the event. So I would like some feedback from you folks as to how we should handle the mask situation.
Yeah, and just so you go ahead, Stephanie. Do you want to talk about the town and what we discussed in terms of what we're putting at least on publicity and things?
Well, we've said, that it obviously, even though we're at capacity for the venue, that actually is reduced capacity to what it would normally have been. Judy's right there. Right now, there is no mask mandate countywide or in the town hall. And so everyone is just kind of, we've seen the recent CDC recommendations. Nothing has been done, as far as I know, to make plans to reinforce a mask mandate. But I will tell you that the Charleston County Emergency Management Division has called a meeting with all the local jurisdictions for Friday at 1. And so I can update you after that meeting. But as it stands right now, we really don't have any way to enforce that as a town, and nor does the venue actually. So if it was a venue policy, that would be one thing. But it's kind of, we're in that place where we didn't want to be, which is you kind of have to, everybody has to take personal responsibility as of this moment.
Are we going to say that?
Are we
Say that? Are we going to have a sign or something that says something like "be responsible," or if you're not vaccinated, we suggest you wear a mask or something?
Well, we've on our publicity we've been putting out, we've been saying that we recommend that anyone that A, doesn't feel comfortable, or B, is not vaccinated, that they should be wearing a mask. But obviously enforcement of that is a different challenge.
I feel completely comfortable making an announcement, repeating the CDC's guidelines in terms of masking.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have a problem doing that. I don't know if we're going to have any kind of stations like we have in terms of hands stuff or extra masks there, Stephanie. I don't know.
We can do both. We can do both, and we can also have a sign. I can make a sign for that night that has the recent guidelines, just as a so that it's posted at the entrance.
Okay, Judy, if you could get a hold of Barbara and tell her we'll need an easel for that sign and to.
Will do.
Okay.
Yes.
Could we just use some language like, you are strongly encouraged?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just, I think strongly encouraged will, and maybe even add vaccinated or unvaccinated. You are strongly encouraged to wear a mask. Mayor Tecklenburg is having masks in all county buildings and all this, that, and the other, and the numbers, if you are taking a look at them, the numbers are really, really rising. And here at BG, we are back to wearing masks. And we've had, among the staff at BG, the people who work at BG, we've had breakthrough cases. And we've got two big construction projects, the new healthcare center and the remodeling of the assisted living area. And the contractors and all have to be fully vaccinated to work. And they've had breakthrough cases too. So it's running.
Yeah, we've had at least the River Course has had at least 3 cases, and now I got a note from Seabrook. They've had the same thing with over there. They have to close some of their dining facilities at Seabrook. So it's coming to us, and sorry to say.
River Course just closed their dining there because of those 3 cases. And I think we all probably have experiences already, but my cousin in Columbia, who's vaccinated, just got COVID and had to go to the hospital and have the antibody injection and everything. She's about 70 years old, very healthy. So it's happening close by.
And I would perfectly understand if people decided not to go, depending on what even happens in the next week. Just let Judy and I know.
Yeah.
I bought 20 N95 masks about 2 weeks ago, just in anticipation. So I may look like a duck during the jazz concert, but
and I think it would be a good idea. Of course, let me back up. Number one, I'm not going to be there for the concert. David's my backup, and he's going to be stepping in to take over the actual concert. I will be out there on Friday and Saturday and Sunday to check and make sure everything is all right, but I'm not going to be there for the event. But I think it would probably be a good idea if all the Arts Council people wore masks, set an example.
Of course.
yeah, definitely.
And if
just so
we're
you know, go ahead, Becky.
Well, I was thinking if somebody else is taking tickets, right?
Yes.
But if we're standing near the door, like we usually greet people and so on, if we're wearing a mask, we're setting an example right away.
Right.
I think.
And we have to realize that virtually all of the CJO people will not be wearing masks. So it's Mark Sturbank has performed. I've seen him perform with a slit cut in his mask for his mouthpiece, but most of them don't have that kind of option. So they're going to be up there on stage, and I can see how people would say, well, look, the performers aren't wearing a mask, and they aren't thinking they got to blow through their instruments. But they're setting up on a larger stage than usual and more distance in between the performers. So the CJO performers are concerned about safety too.
Judy, just on logistics, is everything all set with Barbara and the conference center for the setup, as far as you know?
Yeah, everything's all set. So I think we'll be there and be in good shape. So, and I'm grateful for this event because I have not been able to spend a night at our villa for several months because my husband says, why in the world do I want to carry all that stuff out there and spend the night? Let's just go out and spend the day. We're going to spend the night, several nights. So that's good. I'm grateful for that.
And just so you know, and I told Judy knows this, that I will be in New England next week up until Saturday. And actually, Joan, I'm going to be about an hour. I'll be in Brattleboro, about an hour,
Oh,
hour and a half
really?
from you.
Well, come down and see us.
Yeah, no, I'm visiting my sister. I don't have a lot of time, but I'll shout.
Okay.
But I'm flying back on Saturday before the concert, so I get in the afternoon. I know they're canceling a lot of flights.
Yes.
So if someone could be the alternate to the alternate, just in case. Becky?
David, I would be glad to do that.
Right.
Okay.
And Stephanie is Stephanie, who doesn't have anything else to do but can do all things, will be there.
I will be there.
Okay. And this will be, just to remind you, this will be our first event with our event people. And so it'll be a little bit of a learning curve, but Stephanie, do you want to bring us a little up to date on where we are with the scanners and the new company that took over?
Well, this one in particular, CJO is doing that part, but the scanner, so the audience view is the new system that we're working on. I have about a week and a half worth of work that I need to actually focus in on doing that and playing around with the scanners for our events, because it won't be for the CJO. But this system operates a lot more like a box office on the back end. And so neither Keely nor I were, familiar with it because it happened during the pandemic. So there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for me on that. But I think I've got most of it under wraps. What is different that I probably will need to really think about is the way that when you enter in your events, it almost creates its own calendar for you. And so our page that has our events on it, it actually will create more clicks for people if we don't use the audience view calendar. So I'm really trying to think through that, because I know we are used to seeing it on our Town of Kiowa events, and you click on the event and it takes you to the information, and then you click again to get your ticket and access that. I think it's actually going to add a click to that. And so I'm wondering how the council feels, and I'm happy to send out a preview if we just direct people to our audience view calendar, which will not look exactly like our current one, but it is, it's pretty standard to what you see for the Gilliard and the orchestra. It's kind of horizontal, and it lines them all up like so, and then you can kind of click through, and then you can also view them on a calendar. But it is quite different than what our patrons are used to seeing right now. So yes.
Yeah, I took a look at it with Keely before she left, and it looked pretty easy to decipher and not so different from what we would ordinarily do. And like Stephanie said, really similar to any music hall or thing that you would go to in terms of what they've got. You just click on it, and I think it means a little less work for our patrons, really.
I do too. I think if we try to integrate that into what we already have, we're going to end up making, obviously if they click to it from an e-blast or something like that, it's not, it can go straight to that ticketing page. But for someone that goes to our website, if we're trying to integrate it like that, I think we're going to create more steps for them if we don't operate off the main calendar that Audience View has. So that's the biggest change for our patrons, I think, and for you. as a council. So David, when you get back, I'd love to coordinate with you and we can kind of run through some of that with the scanner and everything, because they actually, the audience view system, they only had an Android app. And so they've been developing the Apple app, which they actually have been working out the bugs, and they released a new version last week. I have not had an opportunity to download it on our scanners yet, but I plan on doing that this weekend and trying to kind of work through making sure that some of the bugs that were there before are no longer there, because as you recall, we purchased 4 iPods to do the scanning. So it didn't really work without that.
Yeah, and I'll come in that week after the jazz concert, and
Okay.
if you've got some time, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about it. And then what we can do is send a screenshot of that calendar to all the Arts Council members, so you guys can take a look at it.
Good.
Okay. And Judy, one more thing back to CJO. Refresh our memories again of what they want us to do, or in terms of taking tickets or things like that, or what they want the events folks to do. Because
I
we're
have
going to
no
have
idea. I thought that the event folks were going to be taking the tickets.
Yeah, that's fine. So, but since they're doing the ticketing, the CJO, are they going to
Okay.
have a desk for will calls for them, or do you?
They will have will call desk, and they will have some publicity there to they're now have their tickets for their 2022 schedule available, so they'll have some information there for people. So they need an info desk, and they'll take care of some problems.
So they'll take care of the info desk, and they'll take care of will call.
Yes,
Okay, so our events people will only be actually physically taking the tickets.
that's it. That's it, as I understand it. I'll check that out with Brent when in fact, I'll give him the message about how many tickets we need, and confirm that they'll take care of will call.
Okay, that's what I actually meant about their tickets. So yes, we put in for the event services, there'll be 3 staff members. 1 is a supervisor, which is required. So
Yeah, we were thinking 2 would probably take tickets, and 1 would probably help lead people to the seating and making sure that people are distanced, and they're not moving chairs back and forth, to get closer, that kind of thing.
I think that's a very good idea. Somebody does need to be designated as the policeman. Of course, Arts Council members could do that too, but it might be nicer if it were a stranger. But I'll go with what you guys think. But I think it's going to be hard to get people to stay where they're supposed to. The tables they have, it's the regular size tables that we're used to, and we're used to having 8 or more people at those tables, and they're only going to be 6. And that's going to leave room where somebody's going to get the brilliant idea to move some chairs around.
That would be a good thing to make, that maybe the announcement, don't move chairs. Don't do that.
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah, well, David, if he's here, or Becky, if it's back up, can make the announcement. Please don't move the chairs when people are coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can tell them why. They're distanced for a purpose,
Right.
Judy, I do have a question about these tickets now. Since they went through their system, how would our people scan their tickets in?
Because they're using event view, as
They're
far as I
using-
know.
Yeah, they're using audience view. So our people aren't going to have that we have to actually have created the event in order to scan it through. So I'm not sure that we're set up to do that for them.
Oh,
Yeah, because they're going to come with their phones
Yeah.
like they did with our event, with the ticket on there. So the question is, how do our event people, what are they dealing with? That's the question I asked when we had met a couple of months ago, and he said,
Yep.
"Oh, I need to find out about that," but I never heard
okay.
back.
I'll check with Brent.
And I can't imagine that they're expecting us to do that, because they would have known that on their end since they've been taking the tickets. So actually, we were using that as our tester event to see how they did with the audience view. So
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
sure
So,
that they're making
uh,
plans for that.
well, okay. It's their ticket.
Yeah.
We did not sell any tickets.
No.
It's all their tickets.
That's correct.
And we don't think that our system, I'm asking, is this correct? We don't think that our system can scan their tickets.
No,
So therefore, they're going to have to scan the tickets. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
unless they were even thinking of scanning. I mean, they're using the same system we're using, a digital ticket system, and people are going to come with tickets printed out. They'll come with their phone that has the scan code on there, like ours. I think. I mean, I haven't, but that's what I believe they're going to be coming with. So we just need to know how our events people are going to interface with those different forms of tickets, digital tickets that folks are going to come, or are they coming with their own scanners?
Yeah, we need those details.
Okay, I'll get it.
One last question. How we've all said that, we have capacity for whatever is designated as that, but I don't know what that is. How many tickets have we sold?
I'm a person who does not remember figures exactly, so I can't tell you exactly. It's 320 or 330, something like that.
And is this
30.
are they doing all 4 ballrooms opened
Yes.
up?
Yes, they are.
So the tickets are spaced, and that's how many people will be there.
Right,
Okay.
and they're not supposed to be any seats around the side, but they may show up. You know how that goes. But
We did it, and we basically specified 75% capacity for our events. So
Yeah,
we took
and-
the capacity of the room full, and we limited them to that number of tickets.
yes, and we did not set that capacity. The resort did.
Okay.
Yeah, Jody.
General question here, and we may not know the answers, but does the venue have a testing protocol for staff of the venue? Secondly, does the jazz orchestra have a testing protocol?
I think that jazz orchestra does. I'm not the staff. I don't know. I'll
Right,
ask.
right. For instance, with the Gilliard in the past, the symphony had to actually postpone a concert because Gilliard staff member tested positive. So I was just curious if any of that could result in cancellations of the event.
I'll check. Very good question. So I have no feel for how the new COVID situation is going to affect our attendance. I know right before we shut down, and there was a Quentin Baxter event, and it was completely sold out, and people were begging for tickets a week or so ahead of time, and then as it came to the actual day, we ended up with probably 75% of people in the room. They just decided not to show up, and then the next day, everything shut down.
Yeah.
And we may well run into something like that.
Well, it's
I think-
heartbreaking to think that we're in this situation in 2021 in August, but here it is. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
dealing with it.
It feels a lot like March of 2020, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
a whole lot. And that wasn't any fun. And
No.
I'm looking ahead, and with the number of breakthrough cases that we're getting and all, this is not good. And we've got the situation where there are a number of people who are immunocompromised, or cancer treatment, or organs transplants treat patients, or all that, who haven't even had the chance to get fully immunized, are not fully immunized, and now there's more contagion, so that's rough, tough.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking about, we're not all that far beyond past Spoleto events.
Mhm.
And when I was at Spoleto events, we wore masks through the whole concert in the beginning, and toward the middle and last part of Spoleto, they said, okay, wear your mask till you get to your seat and then you can take it off. We're not that far past that. Things have gotten much, much worse. So I'm sure we're going to have to visit
Yeah,
our plans for the future.
yes, and
This
they
one.
talk with this, with the analogy of it's as contagious as chicken pox. I remember when my kids were little and going to violin lessons, there was a group lesson. And my son was 2 and still in diapers. And he was, we got a phone call after there was one little boy came down with chicken pox. Wasn't worried. I wasn't worried about my son, but my daughter was probably 5 feet or less away from the kid who came down in chicken pox. But my little boy, who was more than 20 feet away and didn't have the slightest bit of contact with the chicken pox guy, came down with it. And
I remember being a kid having chicken pox parties, so we could all catch it. In fact,
yes, that was a good idea. But
yeah, I think I tell you, we are restricted because we're part of the town, and the town has to conform to certain things that our governor puts out, and so we're not a private nonprofit, so there's certain things we cannot do in terms of restrictions. And Stephanie, you might want to talk about that.
When he rescinded everything, he pretty much, the way that he wrote that into action, he essentially disabled everyone from being able to make those decisions on their own. And they're not allowed to do anything like ask for vax cards or things of that nature. And so unfortunately he put, he made it so that we're not really able to do that. And they talked about looking at that when that happened for the town in general, for our residents, and the legal opinion was that it would be challenged. So unless something of that nature changes, I don't see them changing that.
But how does Mayor Tecklenburg say that all their employees and people who come into the city buildings have to have masks on?
Because that's strictly for the venue itself. They're not mandating it to attend. They're not mandating it so they're just saying, if you're in this building, we want you to be masked. But
we can still have a very strongly worded sign about how we say it. I was just up at Brevard Music Festival. Almost everyone in the audience had on a mask. And it said strongly encouraged or something like that. But they wanted to wear them, so they wore them. Mostly people my age in the audience too.
I think our audiences are pretty, we have an older population. We're lucky in terms of vaccinations on the island, and even in Charleston County is doing a lot better than the rest of South Carolina. So, we can be encouraged by that, but Judy's absolutely right. We're in a whole different situation and things are moving fast. So, in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, things may be quite different. We're just going to have to be flexible and sort of see what's going on and then adapt to that. That brings me to the second concert, which is Charlestone's van, which is at the church. We have a meeting before that, but I just wanted to touch base, Van, to see if you needed anything or information or how that was going.
I do have some information that's probably important to our budget. The church has renovated all their lighting. So no more burned out lights above the performance area. Those have been replaced and aimed properly. They've also installed a professional lighting system a little further out in the sanctuary, which has the ellipses that we always pay for. Plus they have the LEDs and even capable of color. And David is willing for us to do that. And he will set it up for us that day. And that would save us $609 per performance. That would work for the Funk concert as well as Charlestone's. That's a pretty good savings.
It is.
if we want to do that. If not, we can pay someone to come in.
What you're saying basically is we don't need any lighting package. You're thinking that what they have will be suitable for the choral group,
It was demonstrated to me.
right?
Wonderful.
That's fabulous. So Stephanie, I guess we would need to know that in order to cancel that.
Yes, since, Bill, have you seen that lighting?
No, I haven't, no. But it's good to hear.
Are you saying David Childs van?
Yes,
Is who you're talking about?
yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, it's all digital. It's very similar to the systems we pay for. You know, it's remotely controlled.
And so would we have to care for him to be there to run it then?
No, he would set it up for me. Since this is just a static concert,
Okay,
both these concerts are static, he would set it up and he would just show me how to turn it on, and that'd be it.
Super.
so
And
then
there's
we're
no
saying,
charge for David's time?
And he's asking for no charge. He's asking no charge.
They probably have them pre-focused for, choral and for,
Have it focus on that area. Yep, and they can be, the ellipses can obviously be expanded or whatever, but for a larger group. But right now it's set up very well for piano in the center and Charleston's in the center.
I have a question, just playing devil's advocate here. What happens if something goes awry? And
Question.
During,
well, only because we've planned, obviously, with these other concerts to have a lighting engineer on site. So it's great if they have the system. What if something goes wrong? I don't know how complicated it is to troubleshoot van. I mean, if you've seen it and it looks pretty simple, then that's one thing, but I'm just saying, what happens if it goes out and then we're in a concert that doesn't have light?
I don't anticipate that. It's a new system. I'll certainly ask him what
Yeah,
the backup might be. I'm sure he'd be open to a phone call.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would be a problem.
it might be good at some point, Van, for a couple of us to have some training on it as well. So it's not just you that know how to use it. So, maybe Bill or someone else could go over there and just sort of see how it works. Because I'd love to see it too, in terms of the dimmer system and what they've got, if it's new equipment, just to, for the events that are going on there, and demonstrate, how to do it.
the other thing is you could approach him and see if he'd be willing to stay for a fee.
Well, he's there all week as well.
I'm talking about during the event.
Oh, you want him to stay for the event? I doubt he'd want to do that.
I mean, I don't think, Stephanie, I wouldn't worry about that much, because once the lights are turned on, it's like a switch, and anything could go wrong at any point with any lighting system in terms of an on or off situation. I mean, if he sets them up and all Van has to do is switch it on, it should be fine.
Okay.
I'm more concerned down the road in terms of, making changes in terms of, two pianos, and how do we focus on that, as opposed to a choral group going. I'd like to see what the possibilities are in there with their new system, so we could work with them.
Yeah, they can broaden the scope of it for sure. They have all those capabilities. Even if that system goes down, there's plenty of light there. It's not like the place is going to go dark.
Okay.
So,
Well, just having them replace the ones that were out.
Yeah.
That would be
a
nice.
huge amount to the
that pretty
front.
well is sufficient, really, that these are more out front, so they would be better if they're on. Yeah, I'm confident in it, but it's you guys can decide if you want to pay the $609 or do that anyway. I'm fine.
I never thought we should really for these 4:00 in the afternoon concerts there, especially if they've got their light bulbs replaced up and pointed right, even without the extra things that they may have added. It was very adequate. And I think if this works for yours, we should go ahead and cancel our lighting people for the other Church of Our Savior concerts. Because
So
when
the
I have an event that's just a piano and a violinist, I just don't think we need high
cello
power.
and piano
I-
is a night concert.
Well, I agree. I feel like that, that when I go to see an event that I term a recital, and that's basically what the events that we produce are. They're recitals. I find that an elaborate lighting situation is detracting. I want to have just the simple, have the performers lit well, and that's it. So
I agree.
I do want to see the performer's face.
Right, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes that's at night in the church, you need something to do that, as Bill knows very well, because you want to avoid shadows and things. So, I think if they've really made an effort to change out those lights, it may well be sufficient. But you guys are going to know after the 19th when you see what they've done. So
Right.
I could check with David. I know David for a long time, so I could back up with Van, and in case Van can't make something, I can check, make sure I understand what they're doing and go from there.
The 19th is a daytime, 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
So the lighting is going to be sort of insignificant.
While we're on this event, when I set it up in the box office, I'm reserving 2 tickets for every Arts Council member. Is there anyone here that already knows that they're not going to be attending that night? Okay.
be out of the country, hopefully.
I'm not
Hopefully,
likely.
you're brave. You're
Yeah,
brave.
I'm not
I
likely.
think
to be
where
able
I'm
to-
going, it may be better off than we are here, though, at this point. So.
Okay.
What
I
was
would
the,
only need one. I
again,
only
Van?
need one.
Okay.
What's the date again, Van?
19th.
Have your-
19th, Sunday the night, September 19th, Sunday,
Yeah. I'll be
Charles
here.
Stones.
I'll be there.
The only other September event is the Piano Bar series, but I did want Joan to say a little bit about Piano Bar and the film series, which is going to be in the town hall. So Joan, you want to mention that since we're still on the
Yes.
season?
Before we move forward, I need to have one last question regarding piano tuning.
Yeah.
How is that taken care of? Piano tuning, how is that taken care of?
Joan,
Joan,
Piano seating.
Tuning.
Cooney,
Oh, the tuning. Oh, John Eisenhart's lined up for that. And on my thing here, it doesn't show that you have a piano for the Charlestones, do you?
I
or
do
don't?
not. I do not, but I do for the cello.
Okay.
It's a
the
duo.
Cello,
That's
yes.
on
I said
November
that.
2nd.
Right,
My
right.
question is that something you do,
Yes, yeah,
you take care of?
yes.
Okay.
And I
She's
just
scheduled.
talked to John yesterday, and I was going to reconfirm the dates. I wanted to find out, we don't have that many dates for piano this year. But I wanted to double check with everybody that they did need it, or maybe somebody didn't mention it and they need it. So it will be tuned by John Eisenhart.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Want to talk about the Piano Bar and film series real quick?
Yes. I've had these dates for a while, but Amy Cook, who I deal with at the Sandcastle, was not able to confirm them until a week or so ago, because she wanted the new director to see them. So we have September 22nd, and Gary Pecorello will be playing then. October 27th, the Steve Joy Trio. November, this one is not confirmed. Was it November? Anyway, the Blue Heron Pond boys, to say, I'm still waiting to get their feedback. January 26th, Jim Hockenberry. February 16th, Chris Dodson. And March 16th, Glenn Brown. And the Glenn Brown will be a St. Patty's Day thing. I do not have the dates for the art films because it's going to be there at the town hall, and I need to find out what dates they cannot have things there. Those obviously are on Friday afternoons. And with the Sandcastle, where we had them before, could not guarantee all those dates because Fridays is used for a lot of wedding parties and private parties. And I didn't want to risk having things changed around the last minute. Plus, I think the town hall has a much better setup for the film and everything. So I feel very comfortable with that. Oh,
And just so you know, I think the reason that they are on Fridays is because we had them here. That works for us too. But I need
Right.
to get those dates to our town clerk, Petra Reynolds, to be
Right.
able to make sure Fridays, we usually don't have a lot of meetings. So that
Okay.
doesn't seem to be a problem, but I
I
need to
have
actually get it
the
on the
dates.
calendar.
But I wanted to check them with you people, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds great. And I think that'll be a better venue, Joan. So I think that's great.
I think so. Mhm. Because, the setup there, the projection, it wasn't always working and the sound wasn't always good. At least in the town, we have new materials and they're, it's much more recent setup. So I'm happy about that.
Go ahead, Jody.
Piano bars, just a question. In that it's an event that there are no tickets and we just encourage everybody to come if they can. What about capacity and the possibility that there might be more people than that we can deal with? Have we set?
I say, let's have the first one and see what happens, okay? We don't know. It's such I really don't want to be selling tickets to a piano bar.
No. I'm just saying, do we need to set a capacity? Or I don't know how that would work, but
Well, we basically have a capacity, only room, and it can only hold X number of people. And if we have to limit it because of the COVID, we'll make it less than it was before. And we could possibly find out whether we couldn't put some overflow outside. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just
and maybe,
remembering
Joan,
some very popular ones where talking about putting chairs in tables for jazz orchestra where people just keep coming in. We just keep pulling up chairs and there are in fact 12 people at a table. So just a question about thinking it through.
Yeah, okay.
if you can check with the Sandcastle, see what their announced capacity is for the room, and
Right.
then we'll just figure 75% to be consistent with the rest of our activities.
Right.
And if we approach that, I think Jody's right. I mean, if we're going to be consistent, there's got to be a cutoff, or that's how many chairs we put in the room at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to mention one other thing about the upcoming season, and you may have, or two things, but the first has to do with the increased costs for lodging and hotels. And this is something that Keely, before she left, as she checked with Andel Inn, you may have known that hotels all across the United States have increased their rates tremendously because people are doing so much domestic traveling as opposed to international. And the hotel rates at Andel has skyrocketed, and even our group rate is absolutely exorbitant. I mean, it's just much more expensive. So if you looked at Stephanie's spreadsheet, you can see that there were increased costs on anything that involved 1 night or 2 nights lodging. And that's the reason why. Stephanie, do you want to say anything else about that?
I just want to say that, well, that's been highlighted, I think, for the last 2 times you guys have seen it, maybe. But the Andel Inn, just to put it in perspective, we used to get, for 2 guests for a studio king suite at $223 a night, is now $260, and then it just kind of keeps going up from there. And like to have 4 guests in the same suite is $350 versus, so it's quite a different, it bumps us up quite a bit to be at Andel, even though we're still getting a 25% off discount. But
What about the resort?
so,
yeah.
right, the resort has their price based on what you're asking for. So a villa, we don't have a standard price sheet for them. I have to send in the request and they get back to me on, based on the amount of people and nights. But I will say that like there is for a villa, like I just checked into this for Jody, for you have to have a house. Most of the properties that you need a house for, you have to have a 3-night minimum, which is we don't need.
Oh, yeah.
And so then that puts us into a villa option, and each villa is about the rental plus the resort fee plus the tax works out to be, like for one villa, depending on like a 2-night minimum is $431 a night. So
Is that for
Wow.
2 bedrooms
Wow.
or 1 or 3?
3
or
bedrooms.
3.
So like, so it's just going to be, we're going to have to kind of mix and match it a little bit. I think it makes sense, like for Burning River Brass, it really makes sense for us to kind of even put them at Andel because of there's not that big of a price difference, but I'm kind of working with Jody to see what she would prefer, and we're still working on hashing that out. But yeah, so we just have to make accommodations for that. I talked to Stephanie Tillerson, and so did we talked about it in the board meeting, and she said that if it gets out to be the off season and those rates have not dropped, they'll let her know because she might can work something out regarding just like a government rate or something to that nature. But right now, everyone's pretty much trying to make their money back from COVID.
Yeah.
So you can understand it's higher across the board. So did that answer your question, David?
Yeah. I just wanted them to know why those were, and I couldn't remember whether we mentioned that last time or not. But the other thing, I think at the last meeting, we had said that Becky, Jody, and I were going to read some plays from Pure Theater, and we did. And we decided on the one-man show, Buyer and Seller, which we think is hysterical. I think it's quite funny.
I've seen it, and it is. It's funny. It's about
so
Barbara Streisand.
Oh, I love Barbara.
So it's about that will be the play that Pure Theater will be bringing in October. So.
Yeah.
And are we putting the Pure Theater in the new convention center? What's our venue?
Turtle.
Point.
It's going to be in Turtle. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember now. We decided that Intimate was good. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have the
capacity.
risers. So on that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Capacity
you.
remains to be seen, of course. David, before we get too far, I've got something I need to talk about, as I mentioned on the agenda. And my iPad that I brought, not knowing about the Zoom meeting, because I've been out of town until last night at 9:30. I just didn't see that. It's about to run out of batteries. So could
We
I
can
talk
come in
about
here.
that?
Go ahead.
Do you have a plug for the charger for an
Off
iPad?
the cell phone.
Stephanie?
I do. I'll be right there.
Oh, okay. Well, that would help. Anyway, with that, not the agenda off.
No,
If
go
I
ahead, because
talk about this-
I had it on the agenda a little later, but go ahead. Under new business.
Okay. So this is about the symphony concert that's in conjunction.
There's one right there.
This. Okay, we're working with the court right now. Okay, the symphony concert on the 13th of November. Now, the issue I'm trying to raise is that, as most of you know, Ken Lamb is having his final season with the CSO. And I have been asked to be on a committee to try to find ways to honor him during this season. And the committee's met once. It's with the board chairman of the CSO, the chairman of the CSOL, and some members of both organizations. And they wonder if the Arts Council would partner with them and doing something at that concert to honor him, not to say goodbye, of course, because he'll be continuing the whole season, but throughout the season, they're thinking of receptions and some ways to thank him. So I suggested this concert that's already somewhat in conjunction with the CSOL because of the house tour. And he has come out to Kiowa to conduct, I need to find out what that number is, but for about 7 seasons, 2 times each. So that's about 14 times he's come out and conducted for us. People have really enjoyed him as a person, as a conductor, and so on and so on. So, in thinking of some way to honor him that day, I thought of a couple of things to run by you. The CSOL can't afford to pay for some kind of reception because, as you know, the resort always requires us to purchase champagne or whatever from them. That would run up anybody's budget. We don't have the budget for it, and neither does even the CSO. And they're going to do a couple of receptions themselves during the year. But I thought of 2 things. One, we already have a paying bar in conjunction with the event. So one idea is to ask people if they would like to stay after the concert, and maybe we could arrange with the bar to maybe sell small portions of wine and to give a toast to Ken as a sort of a reception. Also, this would give any members of the audience a chance to chat with him, because I think people enjoy that. And it happens at the Gilliard, but not always out here, that they could have access. The other thing would be, of course, to say something at the concert and as a way of thanking him for all he's done for the orchestra, the community, and Kiowa. But I thought even a more official act would be, and the Arts Council doesn't have to participate in this, I could ask the town if they would do some kind of a, what do you call it? Proclamation that I could present to him that would say something like, Ken Lamb, whereas you have done this, you have done that, you have done that. The town would like to thank you. And maybe they would even designate a Ken Lamb Day for Kiowa Island. I don't know. I could talk to John Labriola about that.
And say, you know, the mayor, so he would be
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
one, he's the one that does the proclamation.
Yeah,
Yes.
Becky, I think it's a great idea. I think, why don't you just
Absolutely.
contact John personally? I think it wouldn't be a problem. They can do a proclamation. I think it's a wonderful idea. And
Right.
I think all of us suggest that you get right on that.
Mhm.
So,
Well, what about now the CSOL is having a meeting right over here at the town hall. So I promised him I would let him know what we decide. But what do you think about the idea of continuing the bar sale afterwards and doing a toast?
Well,
I thought of like champagne toast, but we
We
can't
better-
afford
we-
the champagne.
we better check with Barbara
Barbara,
about
yeah,
the,
Yeah,
yeah.
just
and
check with
I
Barbara in
will.
terms of, because
Let's
they
take-
usually pack up and go after an
They
intermission.
do,
And
very,
with
very,
the
very
symphony,
quickly.
it's just at the beginning. So just to see if there's any extra costs for them having to hang around for the entire concert. Because
Exactly.
normally, yeah.
And I think
Okay.
we ought to have the mayor present the proclamation to him in a break at the concert. Because some people are gonna leave. I mean, the concert's
Yeah.
over, they're going, that's that. And we want everybody there to see the proclamation and all. But yeah,
absolutely.
I think that's
That's
wonderful.
From a
That's a good
logistic-
idea.
From a
And
logistical perspective, Becky, then that would need to be done at the November town council meeting in order for him to have the proclamation in hand on November 13th. So
Good.
and when is the
That's
town
something-
meeting? The
it's,
council meeting.
it's always the first Tuesday of the month. So in order for a proclamation to actually be a proclamation, he
Proclamated.
has to do it at a town council meeting. So he would need to do it at the November meeting if you wanted to give him. And the proclamation actually stays here, but we could give him a nice copy of it.
Yeah, I thought maybe I could even frame it or something.
Mhm.
So do you approve if Barbara thinks it can be done and there's not much cost to us? I was going to suggest a smaller portion, and a smaller price, because people don't want to stick around and drink a whole other glass of wine. But just working with that a little bit. Would you
Yeah.
still approve?
In fact, because it's the tour of homes and it starts at 5:00, it might just be the
Mhm.
thing where they have them set up the bar after instead of before. And so it wouldn't be any cost if they do that and just invite people to stick around for a little wine reception afterwards.
Well, I'll talk to her and get back to you all at our next meeting.
Great. All right,
Okay,
see what the
but I'll
possibilities
at
are.
least to approve of the idea. So
Yeah,
that's
very good.
great. Thank you.
Anything else about the upcoming season that anyone wants to talk about before we move on to new business?
Yes, I would like to know where we left off with the lighting. Any decision?
The decision.
Oh,
was-
for the Charlestones?
And for anything at Church of Our Savior?
Well, my feeling is let's go with the new setup. Let's cancel the lighting people, see how it goes. If Bill can call David, maybe get a time to go over and sort of take a look at it before the concert, that would be great. But
I'm sure that what they've, I'm, as much as I can be, I'm sure that what they're talking about for a daytime concert would be just fine.
Yeah,
I think-
I would suggest canceling it for the first concert, and then
Yeah.
after that, if things go and Stephanie's sure it's not gonna shut down on us, we can cancel the next one or do whatever we want to do with the next one, but do this first concert with that system, and even though it's daytime, we'll at least know how it works. And if any of you guys want to go over and see David and experience it, do that. I'm sure he's open to that.
great.
Good.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else on the season? Or
I-
go ahead, Stephanie. You want to talk about the planner too?
I do. I just wanted to see, you guys should have gotten the draft of the season planner. I wanted to get your feels if you love or hate it. And then also get if anybody, Judy, if you had heard back from Quentin on the artists.
He said ASAP and it hasn't happened, right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I'll need to I'll need to rattle his cage again. Yes.
Only because, you know,
we all we really need is the name of the artist. He can get the other
That's
stuff
right.
too, right?
That's right. We need the name of the artist, and I'm sure it'll be an artist that has a site that I can download a press picture for.
Right.
And I know that we wanted to get it out at the beginning part of August. David, that has information on what the Post and Courier does their.
They do their season calendar,
Yeah.
I think in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If
So we
any,
wanna be on that.
unless something has changed, he's going to have two women for two of the concerts, and a very famous man for the other concert. But I won't tell you who they are because something may have changed. Do you know how things are up in the air? So I will tell him that I will tell him, and I will encourage him greatly to get it to you right away.
I would appreciate that.
David, before we go to new business, Burning River Brass is going to be at Holy Spirit. The last time they were here, Jody, we had no sound system. Remember that?
I don't. I
And
think Becky did the
girl-
last one there, so,
The
but
poor
remind
girl
me.
was trying
And
to
I ended
shout
up, I
out
was
all
in
of
the
her information
hospital.
about pieces,
I don't
and
know.
just keep that in mind, that you will need a sound system.
The other thing to keep in mind, I did deal with before my accidental surgery happened, was they needed a glockenspiel all of a
Yeah.
sudden. And boy, I had to scramble around all over the place to find a glockenspiel in town. So you better ask them if they need one.
That's got to be in the rider. If it's not on the rider, you don't get.
Right.
They don't get
Right.
one. I mean, that's
Well, they got one. I don't remember if it was in the rider or not, but nobody mentioned it to me and until a week beforehand.
Every
So-
high school has one.
Yeah.
Really?
Every.
What about the
Too
high
bad.
school?
they don't have people to play it, but they have one.
They do have one.
Play it?
Anything else on the new season for new business? Okay, I had safety procedures. I think we've beat that horse to death in terms of what we're doing and urging with masking. We thought we would have something definitive by now in terms of the season, and we really thought things would be hunky-dory, and they're not. So I think, as I said, it's a moving target, and we'll be as flexible as we can in terms of our communication to our patrons. I wanted to talk about prospective new members. Of course, we added Kristen, which is great. I have a couple of other people that have approached me, and I had mentioned this to Jody. They're actually a young couple, Dylan and Kimberly, who are fairly new residents. They've been here a few years, and they're very young, and they're very interested in helping out. And I had coffee with them a couple of weeks ago. I found them really interesting because they're performers. They're like circa performers, not Cirque du Soleil, but that type of performers. And what I'd like a couple of other members to meet them. And I was going to suggest, I asked Jody if she would, and she said she would. And maybe Van, would you?
Yeah, I can do that.
I'm going to send you their information, and maybe you can just sort of set something up like I did. I had coffee with them at Java, and they're really interesting people. I thought and very different demographic than what we're sort of used to. So I was sort of energized by some of their ideas. I'm not sure if once COVID ends, or if COVID ends, they're going to go back to performing again and touring and things. But they're on Kiowa now, and they want to help. And I think it would be great to sort of talk with them and see their ideas. So I will email Van and Jody and set something up, and I'll let them know as well. And I sent Stephanie their resumes today, and I had just got them. I told them, prepare a couple of resumes and send them. And I just got them in the past couple of days, and I'll send them also to Jody and Van. So great. Arts Council, our replacement for Keeley. So I asked Stephanie to sort of give a report on that in terms of where we are. She started this day being up to her nose. Now she's probably up to her forehead.
Yeah.
So
It's okay. I have been here before, but just to give you an update. So when Keely turned in her resignation, and I regrouped a little bit, because actually what had been building that you might not have been aware of is that Keely was helping me out a lot more than she initially started with communications. As you know, or you might not be aware, the town over the last 5 or 6 years has brought building services in, planning and zone. We now have our own planning director. So there's quite a few things that we have expanded in just becoming a bigger role as a town. Whereas, as you guys, as some of the founding members here know, that it really wasn't that big of an operation prior to us being at this new location. And so really what we've decided is that there needs to be 2 positions under me. One is a full-time Arts Council liaison, which is what will serve this committee. And then someone that helps me as which Keely was the communication specialist, but really her main, as you know, her main focus was Arts Council. So all that, it's going to be great, but we were also in the middle of a compensation study for the town. And so it kind of slowed things down when we created another position that had to be vetted. And so we're working on getting those, they do in government, there's pay bands and job descriptions, and it has to all be kind of concrete before you can advertise. So we have not advertised just yet. But that is I'm expecting in the next 2 weeks to get a salary range for the positions and be able to start advertising. So I will be here for a little bit.
Stephanie is going to be as energetic and as quick as possible as she possibly can, because she's the one suffering.
Right. So
thank you. Thanks, Stephanie.
No problem.
Any other updates that anyone has?
I have a few.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bill. Did you have
I
something?
just wanted to check, did we do anything about the idea of security at these events?
Yeah, good question. Stephanie and I talked about it with the board, and it's going to be on the daily report. So they're going to try to have someone sort of check in. It won't be a presence for the entire time, but they'll make an appearance. And isn't that what we decided, Stephanie?
Yeah.
That's correct. So it will be, we have the additional deputies out here. They'll be given the season planner. And so that the captain will assign each that, when they come out here for their daily thing, they'll know that that's going on, and then they'll know to kind of patrol the area. But
Okay.
we're not going to have them staffed there, but they will be aware that a larger event will be taking place in this location and be able to respond quicker if necessary.
Yeah, and Bill, what I told them was that we'd like them, if they make an appearance, do it like for a 7 o'clock concert, come around 6:30 to 7 while people are coming in, so that they
Yeah.
can they see that there's someone there. So
Good, thank you.
someone else had something else going on?
I just wanted to say, thank you for welcoming me, and I want to be helpful. So I feel as if you need someone else in any of your events this year, so I can learn and help, I'm totally available. I'm
Yeah,
just
in
not.
fact, it'd be a great idea, Kristen, if you shadowed somebody. So
Yeah.
as we've got some events coming up that Kristen will be around. If you haven't, and some of you have not pegged alternatives or folks as standbys, Kristen would be great to sort of move in, especially in some of the smaller events. We've not had an event really at West Beach yet, so it's going to be new to us too, Kristen.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, I can't come to the first one. I'm expecting a new grandchild, have to be on grandma duty. So after that, I should be fine.
That's great. We'll get you involved. The last thing I wanted to talk about is planning for next year. And I want to start thinking about that in terms of whether we want to completely jettison Gary's idea of the subcommittees and go back to where we were, or do some sort of, because I know some of it didn't work out, I think, as planned, but of course it was a weird special year because we were basically, planning after a canceled season. I'm going to try to send out some notes. Keely and I met a little bit beforehand, and she had some ideas as well, and she put them on paper for me. And I've gone through those, and I've got some questions and notes. And I think, Stephanie, I'd like to meet with you when we talk about some of the other stuff.
Sure.
To see what the alternatives are. But what I'd like to do is maybe write a little white paper, send it to each of you before the meeting to give you some alternative ways of how we would plan. And Kristen, just so you know, the last year, we did sort of subgroups according to genres. So some of us sort of took on like theater, dance, that kind of thing. There was a jazz group. And so we had subcommittees that sort of proposed events in that genre. And then we all sort of got together and looked at those recommendations. I think the flaw in that was that people felt that if they made a recommendation for something that wasn't on their committee, they didn't really have a time to speak about it when that subcommittee met. And plus, it was a lot of work because there were people that were on 3 committees, and some of the subcommittees were as big as the entire council. So I think if we go with that idea, I think it's going to have to be massaged a little bit so that we prevent those kinds of things from happening. I also have a real problem, and it's something I want to talk to Stephanie about it in terms of making decisions on the cultural events before we have the proposals from the Arts Council members, because it seems as if we're approving events that have been applied for by other groups before really considering the ones that you guys are sponsoring and wanting. And that's always been a little bit of a dichotomy for me. And I'm trying to figure out how we can sort of merge those two ideas so that we're deciding. So we're not deciding on the cultural events, and then we have to look at our proposals and try to fit them into the genres that we've already approved. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Sounds right.
I'm not sure how we do that, but I'd like us to think about that anyway.
Good.
I'm gonna have to look back too, because I remember us actually making the cultural events before the Arts Council proposals, because there was a problem with us committing to the proposals before the application. So I can't remember what the kink was in that.
I agree. I remember something like that too.
Yeah.
And we said, well, it'll work because we'll fill in the blanks and all that. But it would be helpful for me if I saw what was on each table.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. Yeah,
I
exactly, Judy.
That
Yeah.
felt a little
Want to see the whole
disjointed
meal.
last year. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Stephanie, what?
I said that for me, it felt a little disjointed because I didn't know what everyone was considering. And I think there was a few members that felt the same way, that, there was a few of you that were on multiple subgroups, but it's kind of hard to plan or wrap your head around it when you're not involved.
And that is a problem, to be in multiple groups, as far as that having that many meetings.
Yeah.
And even if we do it on Zoom, and people not responding to emails, you don't know whether or not they're going to show up. And also, I was not happy with last year's process, and I would like to see it changed. If it's not going to be changed, I'm not sure I want to continue doing things.
Yeah, and I think so. What I think I'd like to do is at the September meeting to devote a good part of that meeting, after we review the upcoming events, is to talk about the planning process, because really it's going to be October, November, December when those things are going to happen. And December is normally when we would do the cultural events, because that application deadline is, I think, the end of November, Stephanie?
Yes, that's correct. November.
So we'll have, I think next time that'll be the major portion of next meeting, is to sort of figure out the planning process. So if you can all do a little thinking on that, I'll send you some stuff, sometime, middle of this month. I get back on the 14th. So probably that week, and maybe after Stephanie and I meet and sort of talk about that, that'd be great.
Yeah. And I think you guys all got an email about the cultural apps or cultural event applications are posted, accepted through November. So they'll be on the, where I emailed you guys, you can forward those on to your organizations. So I just wanted to make sure you knew about that as well. David, do you have anything else? Because I just had a few things I wanted to update them on.
I just wanted to say to Kristen, this is what I explained to you about the different pockets of money in terms of cultural events and arts council, that
Yes.
I probably was not that articulate because I
No, you
still
weren't.
have to think about it. So, okay, Stephanie, yeah, go ahead.
Well, one, Kristen, I just wanted to tell you, I've ordered your name badge. Everyone on the council has a name badge that they wear to the events. If anyone has lost theirs, please let me know and I'll get you another one. And then also we have a new member handbook, Kristen, that I will, I can send it to you. We do have it as a binder, but it's just a fairly short PDF that might be helpful, unless David, you've already sent it to her. You've got it. Oh, good.
This is the most
Great.
recent, it's 20 to 21.
Good. Yes. Okay. And then just to let you guys know, I think I told you that all the contracts are back, which is perfect. And the early access code for residents has been sent. I have fielded a number of resends and reminders. So I think I've gotten the bulk of everyone. That was quite a flurry of emails that happened, where I think everyone missed the first email and then they started seeing the CGO publicity. And so it was kind of a circus there for a minute, but I think everyone has it.
And does everyone know the code for this year?
But don't say it on now because we're on YouTube.
Check your emails.
Yeah. Yes. And the other thing I wanted to say, and I realized this when I got back into it, looking at the check requests and everything, since I'm doing that part now. I think next season when we do contracts, it would make sense for us to, if we're going to do it, just have 2 payments for people. If they have to or require a deposit, we do that one time and then they get paid whatever their payment arrangements are, either at the concert or mailed to the agency, whatever it is. There's several of them that have 3 and 4 payment schedules. And to me, I think, if I remember correctly, I think that came from Mary not wanting to give more than within a certain quarter before the performance. But I think we're contracting with artists that have really good reputations, and it's just a little bit laborsome for everyone to do 3 and 4 payments for something. It's pretty standard to have a 50% deposit and then the remaining. So I'd like to see that carried out into next season when we start planning. So the other thing is that Elaine Rice, Gary's wife, she's going to be, I've arranged to give her complimentary tickets for the entire season. So I'm going to be handling that with her. So if anyone were to see her at an event, she's not going to need, well, you can ask her for a ticket, but she's, that's going to be the arrangement for this next season for her and whoever she'd like to bring. The other thing was, I wanted to just see if everyone was okay with the season planner design and if it read good for everyone. Yes.
Could you send that to us? I couldn't follow through the scrolling of it. It looked okay, but
Oh, yeah, it's in your email from the meeting. Do you need me to resend that to you?
from which
Your
meeting?
meeting materials.
Oh, okay. No,
Looks like
I
this.
didn't have time to read it while I was on vacation.
Yeah.
It's in your email, Becky, and look for something
All
that
right.
looks like this.
Okay. I love in memory of Gary Rice. That's wonderful.
That's
Yes.
nice.
Yeah, that was Bill's idea, and I have to say that Eileen was very touched. So,
No good.
anything else, Stephanie?
That's all I have.
We did want to mention for next year's season, and Van, we did decide for fun no travel. I mean, we can't do local travel arrangements. So that's something we just don't want to, we'd rather increase the fee so that they take care of their own transportation. And that's I think our consistent message as we contract, over the next year as well. Is that right?
That's what we did.
Yeah.
And something interesting, I correspond with Chris Brubeck because I've known him for a number of years. And he was asking, would we be willing to? And I said, no. And he said, well, they've run into problems with rental car situations. And he said, for one concert, they ended up having to rent a hearse.
Wow.
He wanted a Hertz, but he got a Hertz.
Right.
Happens sometimes.
Well, and just the thing is that in your conversations is just that we don't do that because just to be when they need the all of those arrangements, it might not coincide with when town staff is here. So it just would be better if they just got their quote for whatever that is, and then we gave them.
We don't want you to all turn into limousine drivers for 2 days while they're here.
Right.
But what I've told them is that you can do a better job of it than we can.
That's true.
Good idea.
But
That's
so
right.
we can reimburse for rental cars or?
No, so what you would do is during the time when you're negotiating or talking, you would, if they brought that up, then you would say that our policy is that we don't provide that, but if it's a deal breaker, then just adjust your artist fee.
Okay. I personally, I don't know if everybody else does this, but if it's just one or two people, I pick them up at the airport and I drag them around Kiowa for a couple of days. I just set aside the time. And actually, I've gotten to know them so much better by doing that. It's really rewarding. You can't do that with a big band, obviously.
Yeah, but I would say, Becky, that's the exception rather than the rule. That's all I would say about that. I just don't think we want to, we can't build that into an expectation. If you've got a personal relationship and want to take them to dinner or do something on your own, I think that's fine. But we don't want to also create the expectation, especially with agents, that this is something the town does.
Yes.
Well, true. It was just an informal thing where I just say, what times you're playing, getting in, and I'll pick you up. That's it,
You're
Yeah,
a very nice. You're a very nice person, and we'll do a town proclamation for you as well. Anything else
It's
for the
fun.
good of the order before we adjourn? Any other points? Okie dokie. Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn, and I want to tell everyone, be safe, be careful.
Safe too.
Amen.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.